In this episode we discover some hard to access sand blows, do some night driving, walk in the Valley of the Giants and visit Postan's logging camp. But first let us check out the ruins of the old Mackenzie mill. Some local indigenous art. From Mackenzie's Jetty you can make your way towards Mackenzie's lumber mill ruins, but unless you like the walk, which is quite nice, don't do it for the ruins because really there's hardly anything left and we initially actually walked past it and didn't see it. Or from the train, huh? Old water tank. Must have been some dwelling here, but some old train base, but yeah, nothing really shown. What was what? Queensland National Parks. Poor effort. Isn't it, fellow Queenslander?
Yeah. To be honest, it's shocking.
Take a leaf out of Victoria's book. Every little historic item is a plaque for explains where it's from. Here, zero. We sent up the drone for some reconnaissance, but even from the air there was really not much of the ruins to be seen. I later read that most of the buildings were sold when the mill was closed. This old boiler was used by the Z4 Special Forces for limpet mine training, so it is part of the World War II heritage of the secret commando camp which was here. This is again a brilliant example of the coffee rock and what the island is built on. You can see the different sediment layers and how the island developed. Yeah, guys, the easiest way to reach Mackenzie Jetty is from Kingfisher Bay at low tide via the beach. It's a 2.5 kilometer walk. But you can also go inland, which is quite nice and shaded. However, if you use it as your way back, you will be climbing hills a bit. So it may be better actually to Mackenzie's Jetty via the inland track and then you walk back along the beach. However, you will need low tide, otherwise you're not going to come through there. Yeah, interesting formation and so smooth here on the outside, huh?
Yep.
Kingfisher Resort. Electric dingo fences, so don't touch them. Back at Kingfisher we had the luxury of a coffee and an ice cream at the beach bar. So we driving now to an undisclosed location with Peter Myers who is a local photographer and lives for 22 years on Fraser. So following Peter here to an undisclosed location to take some hopefully nice pics of sand dunes. You didn't want to have her on your face, Alan?
Nah, not okay on that.
Wow. That is a view.
On the left here.
Yep. Trackless, I love that. 5:45 in the morning. We got woken up fairly early by quite a bit of commotion from the cicadas. Last night got a bit caught out and just put the stretcher up here in the bush. That's my resting place for the night. We got caught out a bit in the dark, so we had to just put the stretcher up for a few hours sleep. And now we're having a coffee, Ellen, huh?
Definitely.
But after all the walking we did, this is really rainforest here. Absolutely stunning. We definitely needed the bars yesterday and found a pretty nice creek here, which I'll show you now. I hope it looks as nice during the day as it did in the night. Yes, that's where we crystal clear water, yabbies in it. It's pretty nice Snow Peak titanium, super light. And coffee. That should be doing it. Fresh creek water. That yellow light has worked a treat up here, I have to say. Far less mozzies, so pretty cool. That are my new Drifta bags, which proved to be very helpful. I've got all the stuff in which otherwise I have loose flying here. The chair goes in there as well. Yeah, that works out very nicely. It was not that easy to get the drone up and back down, as you can hardly see any sky through the canopy. It's so thick and high trees. A little while ago I purchased one of these Helinox chairs, the Sunset Chair actually, which is only 1.5 kilogram and packs down much smaller. I'm currently testing it to see whether it can replace my regular chair, especially for my Canning and Remote Simpson desert travel. My initial impression after a few days of use is that it is actually more comfortable than I thought it would be, even though the seat base for my long legs could be a little bit longer and I have to get used to not having armrest. The overall benefits are really the lightweight, the portability, easy to carry with you, and a pretty good comfort level for the size and weight. This means for me that that chair is always in the car. I do not take it out, and that means I always have a chair available, so I like it. Look at that, how big that is. This is the Valley of the Giants Loop, which supposedly has some of the still oldest and biggest trees. It is pretty overgrown and you should have a machete or axe with you to clear fallen logs. You also shouldn't be afraid of pinstriping. To be honest, I think there are better sections of the rainforest on Fraser than on this loop here, but nevertheless, it's still interesting. I think it is actually crazy that logging only stopped in 1991 on Fraser. It's such a shame to log these magnificent islands and these old trees. We are walking to an undisclosed location, and if that all works out, gonna see quite a few old trucks. Hey guys, are you enjoying the video so far? Please don't forget to like, subscribe and maybe share the video. And if you're really keen to support me, maybe consider signing up to Patreon and become one of my Patreon supporters. I've been given this location actually by one of my supporters, so thank you very much. However, yesterday Peter Myers, a local photographer who lives on Fraser for 20 years, asked me not to disclose the location here, for the simple fact that it has been done before by a big four-wheel drive magazine, and after that was trashed. Gates were circumvented, relics were stolen, and some of the still remaining glass windows were smashed. While I completely agree that locations like these should be accessible to the public, I'm also well aware that I have a reasonable size following, and while I tend to believe that the most of my followers are pretty responsible people, I still don't think I need to provide every location on a silver platter. I'm sure that if you're really keen and you put your research in, you don't mind the half-an-hour walk, you can find the location to the Postan logging camp, and it's certainly worth it in my book. Working as a timber contractor in Postan's camp seemed to have been quite a good job. The accommodation provided by the Postans was much better than provided for most other timber contractors on the mainland. And some old paper. April 1990. I wonder what they did with their bus here. Number 17. One exception of the proper housing was this old Brisbane bus, which Andrew Postan acquired. He used the bus as mobile accommodation when he worked in more remote locations on the island. In the next episode, we're driving more overgrown West Coast treks to visit Moon Point, which is absolutely stunning. We also visit a huge small leaf fig tree where you could climb inside into the crown. We visit Central Station and do the Bogimbah Creek loop trek. We have a little competition who can kill the most horseflies. And I have a very curious dingo which I need to give a little poke with my tripod.